Welcome back, everybody. Once again, we are coming to you from the beautiful Pantry. This is Eid with Muslims Presents Cooking and Conversation. And as we continue tackling some of the major, powerful issues of our time, I always wonder, the issue of Black Lives Matter. I feel like not a lot of people, particularly, I don't know, maybe this is just me, maybe I'm very sensitive about this issue. I just don't see a lot of Muslims and other people of color, especially leaders, standing up and supporting Black Lives Matter. I just want to hear your thoughts. I will start with Elise.
Just as I take a bite, I'm sorry. Well, I think it's interesting being Black and Muslim and feeling both ends of making sure that I'm standing up for Muslim rights and also Black people's rights. I also understand that I came here as an immigrant, so I want to support also my African American brothers and sisters who have dealt with a lot of oppression, generations of oppression.
And the fact that you're a woman.
And that I'm a woman. It's
all
all kinds of
And a hijabi.
Hijabi. And so I think it's important for us to help one another and come to each other's aid, even if we don't identify with the group. But specifically for Black folks and Black Muslim folks, we really need to support our causes and make sure that we have a connection to Africa, and that we tend to not be looked upon in the rest of the world as strong, intelligent, all the things that Black people are in this world, right? Like, we're constantly getting bombarded with stereotypes, and so it's important for me to acknowledge my Blackness in this country and support the community members and leaders who have been doing that, and I hope others can too.
Absolutely.
In the same way, I want Black folks to also support Muslims in this community as well, who stand by them.
I agree with you. I mean, and I always feel like I when it comes to leaders and leadership, I always see African American leaders standing up for the rights of others because they went through oppression and are still going through it. Recently, you've heard about Mark Lamont Hill, who just got fired from CNN because he gave a speech at the UN calling the free Palestine from the river to the sea, and that was seen as a very, very controversial, subject. When actually there was a survey just done by University of Maryland, and the vast majority of the American people are now, for the past several years, supporting one-state solution because that's the only way to move forward. I mean, two-state solution, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So I always feel like African Americans do that anyway. But I just don't think a lot of, particularly our brothers and sisters from the, other people of color, I don't see a lot of people standing up for the rights of African Americans.
And I think it's interesting that you say that because, when you think about institutional racism or structural racism, we're designed to be siloed. We're designed, like, this is not something that, individuals have a power over. It's something that's intentionally done to keep us away from each other, even though we have almost the same issues, right? We're facing the same kinds of issues, and yet it's hard for us to reach out and see one another for many different reasons. And the thing that's actually going to make some real change, systemic change, is if we start to have those conversations at the table and create movements. And I feel like Black Lives Matter has created, a movement where I've seen more Black Lives Matter stickers on in neighborhoods where are historically white. And I feel like the momentum needs to keep going, for sure. And we need to continue to talk about this because any particular group's plight is going to affect us all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they still haven't hired Colin Kaepernick. So, I mean, It's like, how do we, and I feel like there's so many movements that have spurred since 2016's election, including the Women's March and the Women's Movement. And it's I mean, I remember seeing black women with their posters saying, you know, white women voted for Trump. Like, are we women inside?
I just want to be clear.
But it's like,
was not one of those.
Right. What are we all marching for? Like, I'm not voting for Trump as a black woman, you know, but you are. So how are we in solidarity as women, making sure that we're protecting one another against somebody who is allegedly a sexual harasser, right? So, like, how can we say that we support one another and support one another's movements if we're not actually doing what we need to?
Yeah,
if we're only saying in the aftermath, oops, sorry, actually let's go
I
ahead
can't
and
believe
try.
this happened.
I can't believe this happened. Like,
I mean, and I feel like we've seen a lot of change happen in the last month when it comes to the elections. More women are coming into office.
Yeah.
Hopefully these, you know, once we're more strategic about, you know, not just having economic power, but also having political power.
Absolutely.
Both of those are going to be game changers.
I mean, to me, as far as I'm concerned, it's just very simple. We affirm the humanity of every single human being on earth. And it's just simple. Then we'll all love each other. What about you, sister, over here?
I mean, so I feel, I don't want to say awkward, but I don't think my opinion is really that important compared to you guys because I'm not a person of color, so I don't want to be that.
Your opinion especially matters because if it's not our white brothers and sisters standing up with us and for us, nothing
we
will
have
move.
to.
Nothing
we
will
have
move.
to, but your guys' opinions honestly are more important. Just that's my opinion.
thank you.
That your opinions are.
for saying that, actually. Yeah.
That's why I'm quiet and
right.
let you all talk.
Yeah.
So, you know, Black Lives Matter, I'm supportive. I think that, you know, is super important. It's like long overdue. I think from the Muslim perspective, there is a lot of animosity in the Muslim community between our black, like African American, not African immigrant. You know, I mean, there is a split there, right? There's a split between I am Somali or Ethiopian, so on and so forth, versus I am multi-generational, came on a slave ship, forcibly came on a slave ship. Within the Muslim community, there's a split there. And then there's a split with our Arab and Desi and all the other groups of Muslims. I think when I first became Muslim 19 years ago, I was very ignorant to that. I just felt like, oh, we're all Muslim, because that's what we're taught as Muslims. Like the religion is about equality, and I mean, even Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had this in his final sermon to the Muslim community, like a black is not better than a white, an Arab is not better than a non-Arab, blah 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 blah. Like that's something that's in our teaching, but you know, because we are carbon-based life forms, we fall very short of a lot of our religious ideals. And in the beginning, I felt, because I guess maybe just my own personality, it's like everybody's equal, right? We're all humans, and then in the Muslim community, like, okay, we're all Muslim, we have the same faith, we feel like we're on the same path. And I heard some grumblings in the African American community. Now, of course, our African American Muslim community here is very small compared to other areas like Philadelphia and whatnot, or even in Atlanta or Texas. And it wasn't until I was in a gathering that I saw how some Arab sisters treated African American sisters that I was like, oh.
Yeah.
That's why.
That's why the African American community has insulated themselves in the Muslim community and been like, okay, we're going to have our own mosque, we're going to, and so I feel like, yes, as Muslims, we can address the broader, black community, but we have a lot of house cleaning to do in our own community, and whether it's, judging because, they don't say ahi correctly, they say aki, or, it's language stuff because they're not saying the Arabic correctly, or they dress,
and culture,
cultural. I mean, there's just so many things to unpack there that I feel like as Muslims, what we should be doing is like, let's have a Black Lives Matter movement within the Muslim community and address our own issues, right? And then we can branch out and start.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
See?
That's why.
That's my opinion.
Thank you so much, because you just hit the nail,
On the head.
on the head, whatever. Yeah. That is so wonderful that you said that, because there's a lot of racism in the Muslim world. I
Right here in
personally,
Seattle, world.
I honestly find that, I'm a lot older than these my fellow Somalis here, and I spend, I came here, in my teens. I gotta tell you, like, the Muslim world, I feel like there's a lot more racism in the Muslim world than in America, and it still is. And there's even slavery that exists in many parts of the Middle East. There's slavery of black people.
We have slavery
even
in the US
today,
too.
even today, and it's not even hidden. It's not even secret.
It's out in the open.
It's out in the open. So we have a lot of grievances, when it comes to our Arab brothers and sisters, especially with our Arab brothers and sisters, and that's why this conversation is very, very important.
So,
And sensitive.
yes.
Yes, and we can say that we can love each other and
Call
respect
each
each
other
other,
out.
call each other out,
Right.
because that's the only way we can, move on to creating something tangible. So I think that's it. That's the end of another episode of Eid with Muslims Presents Cooking and Conversation. I want to thank you, ladies, for being part of this, and
Thank
yes,
you so
thank
much
you.
for watching, and you will catch us next month. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, everyone! Namaste, namaste, namaste. Somali. Let's all say namaste.
What is it?
Somali, namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Sanad wa'an. Say sanad wa'an.
Sanad wa'an.
Sanad wa'an.
Sedran?
Sanad
Sened?
wa'an.
Waan.
Yay!
I'm Somali now.
Master's degree.
Why did we
jump? What is that noise?
Sorry.
Oh my
Is there a squirrel out there?